The prolific numbers of disastrous events across the planet, many of which are classified as unprecedented in nature, are causing even the most adamant skeptics to take pause and wonder if these troublesome events are signs of an apocalyptic future for humanity. A monstrous magnitude 8.2 earthquake, which the USGS quickly downgraded to 7.9, woke the residents of Alaska from a deep slumber on January 23rd. Widespread panic erupted along the coast of Alaska, Canada, and Hawaii after the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center warned of potential inbound hazardous tsunami waves. The ominous sounds of danger were heard on the Alaska coast in the dead of the night. An acute sense of uneasiness was felt after several unnerving events occurred in a short sequence in one 24-hour period on January 23rd. A powerful tremor struck off the coast of Indonesia early morning local time, leaving buildings and vehicles in Jakarta swaying in the aftermath as people fled. Another tragedy struck during the morning when Japan's Mount Kazatsu Shirani triggered a deadly avalanche northwest of Tokyo. One witness who saw the eruption engulf a local skiing resort indicated that there was a loud explosion which was followed by thick black smoke that choked out the sky. The avalanche that ensued buried 8 people, while falling volcanic rocks injured 11 others. It was the first eruption of this volcano since 1983. Eerie images from the Mayan volcano in the Philippines paint a bleak picture for those who dwell in its midst, where 56,000 have been forced to evacuate. Scorching hot lava and choking volcanic dust have led to widespread panic in the region. Some will argue that the recent sequential events are all related, and that each took place within the Ring of Fire, which is a volatile region of active volcanoes, where much of the Earth's subduction zones are located, and from where most of the earthquake activity originates. Others will argue that these events are much more common now than at any other time in history, and are therefore an indication that the end of the ages is approaching. Irrespective of your beliefs and what you consider to be true, the events are unfolding, and the changes that are taking place are no longer considered the norm by scientists who study how the Earth behaves. Not only is the Earth's climate shifting, but so is the ground on which we stand, as the world that we know is becoming increasingly unstable. The Earth is experiencing an unusual wobble. It is evident by the unprecedented receding of the oceans, as well as the sudden surge of the tides in many locations worldwide in the past few months. If a full moon or a supermoon combined with the gravitational attraction of the sun were to blame for the phenomenon, then why would such an occurrence be called unprecedented or historic in nature, as was described by an array of news outlets? Why the sudden uptick in major earthquakes, especially along the Ring of Fire, that prompt fears of massive tsunami waves? Can it be blamed on the strange behavior of the sun or a breach of the Earth's magnetic field by powerful cosmic energy? And what do you suppose is responsible for the sudden awakening of dormant or inactive volcanoes? Is it because the Earth is heating from beneath due to frictional forces outside of the gravity field, which are slowing down the Earth's rotation? Scientists always have in their midst a logical explanation for every disastrous event that takes place on Earth, from both a physical and a biological standpoint. But not every scientific analysis of a cataclysmic event, or a highly unusual one, can be viewed through rose-colored glasses in an attempt to normalize the event. It would become a fool's errand to try to rationalize the negative forces which are working overtime on this planet, if your explanation fails to persuade a weary public that suspects that something is seriously wrong with the Earth. The interpretation of events that have already taken place across the world may be explained through a combination of scientific and religious indicators. Prognosticators also play a role in the interpretation of events by predicting them in advance of their occurrence. One of the most influential revelators of all time was the French prophet Nostradamus. It is believed by some that he accurately predicted the rise of Napoleon and Hitler, and also the 9/11 Twin Tower attacks. People are now searching his writings to determine what he has foretold for the year 2018, and what they have discovered is that this will be one of the worst years in global history. With a string of natural disasters, an economy that will collapse, and the beginning of another world war. The predictions of Nostradamus are gaining traction, but for dire reasons. Many people are feeling a sense of helplessness in which the events of this world are beyond their control, and the strong sense that difficult times are ahead. Beyond the predictions for 2018, there is a common theme that can be felt by all the world today. There is a negative energy that is intensifying with unprecedented speed. Have you felt it? The beat of a war drum has been heard once again. A level of tension has arisen among world leaders. Instead of quelling the dangers of a world war, representatives in Washington are fueling the risks of war with their rhetoric. Secrets they share among themselves are never made public, and their knowledge of what lies in wait are meant for their eyes only. To give you a better sense of what's happening now and why the prophecy of the ages may be an important factor in our quest for answers, ponder the following predictions for 2018. The Book of Nostradamus, Les Prophéties, which is the French title for the Prophecies, contains over 1,000 quatrains that foretell future events, many of which have been proven correct. In his writings, there is a stark prediction that has been interpreted to mean that a world war is at our doorsteps, one which is initiated by 4 countries, the United States, China, Russia, and North Korea. It will begin with terrorist attacks in France. The war will be terrifying, will be long-lasting, and will affect all of Europe. At the conclusion of the war, peace will reign, but few will enjoy it, which would imply that many will perish in its wake. The history of this volcano is very compelling, as are the predictions of its reawakening that are forthcoming in the Book of Prophecy. Here it is said that the volcano will shake the earth every 5 minutes, resulting in the loss of many lives. What is so compelling about this writing is the fact that in 2016, more than 1.5 million people were warned that they are dwelling in the midst of a supervolcano that could erupt at any moment, creating a global catastrophe. Of the 3 million people who live in Naples, Italy, half of them are living in the yellow danger zone of the Vesuvius supervolcano. I mentioned that the history of this volcano is very compelling because it was responsible for the utter destruction of the city of Pompeii in the year of 79 AD. Coincidentally, the citizens of this era were also warned about living in the danger zone of the volcano, and they chose to ignore those warnings up until the time that a massive pyroclastic flow swept over them, burying them in many feet of ash and pumice. In his book, Nostradamus specifically targets the United States for a natural disaster that will reverberate across the globe. The USGS has implemented a coordinated effort to monitor seismic activity in the Cascadia subduction zone, where a megathrust of magnitude 8 or larger is long overdue. In 2016, a series of worrisome tremors were felt across the subduction zone and along the two fault lines in California, including the San Andreas. Nostradamus said the winter of 2018 will see the belt of fire of the Pacific to become especially active. We may indeed be witness to the accuracy of his predictions. In the first 4 weeks of 2018, there have been a series of powerful earthquakes along the Ring of Fire, including 3 of magnitude greater than 7. An asteroid strike is expected, as Nostradamus has been interpreted as saying, for the year 2018. A moment of great violence will coincide with the appearance of a comet in the sky. Nuclear terrorism and natural catastrophes will destroy our planet. While it is accepted by NASA that an asteroid or a comet will one day threaten Earth, they insist that there is no major one that threatens the world for at least 100 years. Strangely enough, a series of space rocks has come dangerously close to the Earth in recent years, some of which have not been detected until they were already at our front door. Nostradamus indicated that the rich would die many times over. For some of you, this would be a deserving justice for their overwhelming greed and their indifference to the suffering of so many people. The collapse of the economy would come about by means of war and through natural disasters. Today we see a national debt that has far-reaching effects for the next generation. Instead of taking responsibility for the debt, we continue to spend as if there is no tomorrow. The mounting cost of financial disaster relief is unparalleled in modern times. The escalating cost of climate change is taking a heavy toll on the economies of the industrial nations, which will ultimately lead to a financial collapse. When interpreting the works of both ancient and modern-day prophets, it is imperative that the interpretations be taken with a bit of salt, as there are predictions from years past that have come and gone without their fulfillment. Even so, the quatrains of Nostradamus implicitly describe a level of destruction for these times, which is more apocalyptic than anything previously foretold. Therefore, you should consider these predictions with caution, since many of them could actually apply to the modern world. No doubt concern has been generated in past years to no avail, and yet in hindsight the prophecies of the ages are understood only after the event has come to pass.